This is Yucca. She died 40,000 years ago, but today investors are betting billions of dollars on what scientists can learn from her. Because she may hold the key to one of the most valuable biotech processes on Earth. In 2010, a group of hunters discovered her here in northeastern Siberia, and today a lab in Dallas, Texas is trying to bring her back to life. Well, not Yucca specifically. This would be a very different video if that were possible. Instead, the lab is using Yucca's DNA and the DNA of other specimens to de-extinct the woolly mammoth by 2028. And yes, I realize how ridiculous that sounds, but it turns out that's not even the craziest part of this story. The ambitious company behind the project is Colossal Biosciences, and there's a good chance you've already heard of them. In under 4 years, their investors valued the company at $10.2 billion. Along with the mammoth, Colossal has also announced it's bringing back other species, like the dodo bird and the Tasmanian tiger. Last year, in 2025, Colossal claimed it had de-extincted the direwolf. But the Mammoth project is the company's most complex, and the one it originally pitched to its investors, who are some of the most well-known A-listers and billionaires on the planet. But here's what I don't understand. How did de-extinction become such big business in such a short amount of time? And what are these celebrities, pro athletes, and best-selling authors really betting on? I ended up going down some very strange rabbit holes to answer that question. Timelines, ancient maps, permafrost, DNA, artificial wombs, and somehow, the CIA. I realized all of this is about something much bigger, and it has almost nothing to do with woolly mammoths. So check this out. Most mammoth discoveries happen up here in the Arctic, where for thousands of years, their remains have been preserved in permafrost that's now melting faster than ever thanks to rising temperatures. Not great news for the planet. But on the bright side, these mammoth discoveries, and especially ones like Yucca, contain the DNA that makes de-extinction possible, at least in theory. Because finding the right DNA is only half the battle. The other half is pioneering the technology to actually do something with it. And that's where synthetic biology comes in. And this is the father of synthetic biology, Dr. George Church. He's a Harvard scientist who helped launch the Human Genome Project and pioneered the tools that allow scientists to edit the genes of living organisms. But the project closest to his heart? Mammoth de-extinction. Synthetic biology is basically engineering. Instead of simply studying life, scientists can actually redesign living organisms. Dr. Church had been working on this for years. And then one day, he got a cold call from a serial entrepreneur in Texas who wanted to chat with him about something completely different. Yeah, mammoths hadn't even entered the conversation until.
And then he ended the call with, and I'm working to bring back mammoths to help develop technologies for conservation, as well as sequester carbon in the Arctic.
This is that entrepreneur, Ben Lamb. He spent more than a decade building software companies ranging from AI to enterprise technology.
And I was like, wait, you just said the greatest thing to me I've ever heard, and now you have to go. And so literally like a week later, I was in his lab and we decided we're gonna go on this journey together.
In 2021, Lamb and Church co-founded Colossal Biosciences with a goal to bring the woolly mammoth back within a decade and $15 million in seed funding raised by one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Before I tell you who that is, I want to show you one more thing that holds the key to understanding Colossal's value proposition. So if you zoom in right here between Alaska and Siberia, you can see that the two aren't connected. But during the Ice Age, sea levels were a lot lower, exposing this massive land shelf called Beringia, and mammoths used to cross it by the thousands. In fact, this entire area is known as Mammoth Steppe. It was dry, cold, and grassy, believe it or not. And the mammoths thrived in those conditions. According to some scientists, they also helped maintain them by grazing, trampling, and disturbing the landscape in ways that allowed the permafrost to freeze more deeply during the winter. This is where my notes started looking a little bit less like a business case study and more like a climate science textbook. Permafrost contains roughly 1.4 trillion tons of carbon, and the faster the ice melts, the faster the carbon gets released into the atmosphere as CO2 and methane. Now, this is a very watered-down version of Colossal's argument, but essentially what they're saying is that if you bring the mammoth back and reintroduce it to the Arctic, then in theory, you might be able to restore its grasslands and help keep the permafrost and the carbon matter within it frozen. The idea is to do this with other animals in other parts of the world too. It's a concept called rewilding, and it's part of Colossal's plan to solve the biodiversity crisis and, as a byproduct, mitigate climate change. But wait, I thought Colossal was a de-extinction company. Is it also a climate solutions company? What if I told you it was something else entirely? And once you see what's hiding behind the mammoth, you can't unsee it. It's a pattern you'll start to notice everywhere, in EVs, AI, food, and media. Because the real money isn't the product, it's the infrastructure it takes to build it. To help you spot these hidden plays in real time, we built a short, highly tactical guide. It pulls back the curtain on a 4-lens investor framework that you can read over a cup of coffee. We even included a 1-page sector checklist, so you can vet any new industry from AI to logistics and find the true value before the rest of the market catches on. It's entirely free, so hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen to download it in about 10 seconds. Let's go back to our friend Yuka for just a second. Fast forward to 2025, and a group of scientists extracted something remarkable from her frozen tissue, RNA, the oldest ever successfully recovered from an ancient animal. The lead researcher on that project was this Swedish paleogeneticist named Dr. Love Dahlin, who also sits on Colossal's scientific advisory board. But Dr. Dahlin was once one of its skeptics. When Colossal was first founded in 2021, Dahlin told CNN, "There's absolutely nothing that says putting mammoths out there will have any effect on climate change whatsoever." And he's not alone. Over the years, a number of climate experts and academics have openly criticized Colossal's climate claims and questioned whether rewilding can deliver the impact the company hopes it will. So if the mammoth isn't the climate hero that Colossal says it might be, what is it? This might be a good time to address the other elephant in the room, which is that Colossal's woolly mammoth isn't technically a mammoth at all. It's an Asian elephant with mammoth genes edited into the DNA in its cells. In the same way that Colossal's dire wolves are technically genetically edited gray wolves, which has sparked a ton of debate. But none of that really matters, at least not for our video, because Colossal's real value proposition, the one that helped it reach a $10.2 billion valuation, isn't really the woolly mammoth. In the words of one investor, strategically, it's less about the mammoths and more about the capability. And here's the part that made me do a double take. Those weren't the words of a Silicon Valley VC or that mystery Hollywood investor who we'll get to in just a sec. That actually came from the CIA. Okay, well, not technically the CIA. There's a lot of technicalities in this video. It actually came from an independent investment firm set up by the CIA. But still, not where I expected the rabbit holes to lead. And here's what took me down another rabbit hole. In that same investment memo, the firm said that if companies like Colossal are successful, it could unlock capabilities such as improving building materials, preventing extinction, enhancing crop species, and curing human diseases. This is where it gets really interesting. See, elephants are famous because of something called Peto's paradox. And the paradox is this: bigger animals have more cells, and more cells should mean more opportunities for cancer. Yet elephants, remarkably, get very little cancer. And scientists believe one reason is that they have extra copies of tumor suppressor genes, one called TP53, that destroys damaged cells before they become cancerous, which is really good for elephants, but it created a problem for Colossal because TP53 is so aggressive that the cells kill themselves before the company can finish editing them.
We've actually had to figure out how to regulate P53 and turn it down so we can edit the cells, turn it back up, so then we don't have, cancer-induced mammoths.
And according to Ben Lamb, that's something no one would have figured out had we not started studying mammoths in this specific way. And the implications of that discovery could be even bigger than bringing one back. Because Colossal isn't just learning more about mammoths in its quest to de-extinct them, it's learning how to program biology in order to control certain outcomes. And someday, that could apply to us.
There's all kinds of things you can do in biology that where you're working at a very high programming level. Some people are going to want to be like Einstein, some people won't. Some people might want to live to 150, some people might want to die at 80. But if you give them that range, that capability, that would be a completely different world.
Pretty wild, right? And just like we saw the space race open the door to GPS, artificial limbs, and memory foam, the Mammoth moonshot is generating capabilities that have little to do with putting mammoths back on the Earth. And it's these kinds of technologies that get developed along the way that investors are willing to bet billions on. From day one, Ben Lamb said he was looking for investors who believed in the mission and were willing to think long-term. But when I studied the investor list, something else jumped out. It was full of people whose careers were built around telling stories. And few people understand great storytelling better than Colossal's very first and arguably most important investor, Thomas Tull. He's the founder of Legendary Entertainment, the studio behind The Dark Knight, Interstellar, and Jurassic World. Of course. But here's the thing that most people miss about him. He didn't just make movies about humanity overreaching with nature and the consequences of playing God. He spent years studying what it looks like when that kind of story captures the world's imagination. And then he found the real version of it. The celebrity wave that followed Tull included Paris Hilton, Tom Brady, the Hemsworth brothers, the filmmakers behind The Lord of the Rings, and the author of Game of Thrones himself. Today, Colossal has raised a total of $615 million in funding. And the founders even spun out several offshoot companies, including one that recently raised $30 million. And because each new de-extinction announcement is produced almost like a short film.
One day soon, we may not just remember the dodo, we may actually meet it again.
It's a pretty safe bet that the public is going to want to stay tuned to see what comes next. And that very well could be the announcement of a mammoth birth. On its website, Colossal still says we'll see one by 2028. Maybe that's confidence, maybe it's marketing, or maybe they're just really good storytellers. Either way, they've already convinced the world to believe the impossible, and that might be their most valuable creation yet. If you thought this story was wild, then check out my friend Kaya's video that unpacks the legend of the pink pineapple, all while he tries to track one down in his native Costa Rica. And download our guide so you can spot the infrastructure opportunities behind the product. All right, that's it for me. I will catch you guys in the next video.